Was this really just a simple mistake by Maria Connor? Or was it something way more calculated to blow up the life of a man she just can't trust anymore? I've been thinking about this a lot lately. What we're seeing on Coronation Street right now isn't just your standard soap opera drama. It feels like we're watching a slow-motion car crash where everyone is trying to grab the steering wheel at the same time. You have to wonder, is the Windass marriage finally hitting its expiration date? Or is the secret behind Theo Silverton's death the real poison that's been sitting on the menu this whole time? I mean, think about it for a second. We've seen Gary and Maria go through so much, but this feels different. It feels final. And honestly, I think we all saw it coming, didn't we? Weatherfield is about to experience what I'm calling the most uncomfortable dinner party in history. Seriously, imagine sitting there trying to eat your starter while a police detective is staring at you like you're a piece of evidence. Kit Green has put this whole thing together, and on the surface it looks like a nice little get-together. But let's be real. Kit isn't interested in Sarah's cooking. He's orchestrated a high-stakes interrogation disguised as a 3-course meal. Sarah thinks she's just being a good host to Todd and Summer, but then Kit decides to widen the circle. He brings in Gary and Maria. Why would he do that? In my view, this isn't some accident of social planning. It's a tactical maneuver. Kit isn't just looking for a good glass of wine. He's looking for a killer. By bringing Maria into the mix, he's introducing a total wild card. He knows she's been marinating in suspicion for weeks. Now, think about Maria's headspace. She's noticed Gary's private chats. She's seen the growing closeness with Sarah. She's finally hit her breaking point. Psychologically, I think Maria is operating from a place of hypervigilance. Can you blame her? After everything she's been through with Gary, all the violence, the criminal ties, the constant lies, she's developed a sixth sense for his deception. She isn't just reacting to a feeling. She's reacting to a pattern that she's seen play out way too many times before. Then you have Sarah. Sarah seems trapped in her own history of poor choices. In my opinion, Sarah's decision to keep Gary close isn't necessarily about romance. It's about a shared trauma. It's about the heavy burden of secrets they've both been carrying since April. When you share a secret that dark, it links you to a person in a way that's almost stronger than love. It's a survival bond. The trailers we've seen show a Maria Connor that I honestly haven't seen in years. She's fiery. She's uncompromising. She is absolutely done with playing the role of the nice girl who stays quiet. She stands up at that table and raises a toast. But instead of saying something sweet, she drops a tactical nuke on the whole room. She says, "Gary and Sarah are having an affair." Just imagine the silence after that. Why would she do it there? Why do it in front of Todd, Summer, and a literal police detective? Well, if you ask me, it's because Maria wants witnesses. She's tired of Gary cornering her in the living room and gaslighting her until she doesn't know what's real. By making it public, she forces them into a corner where they can't just whisper their way out of it. Internally, I bet Maria is feeling a mix of agonizing betrayal and a strange sense of relief. Keeping those suspicions bottled up is a form of self-torture. It eats you alive. Samia Longchamban, who plays Maria, mentioned that it only takes a small amount of wine to get her talking. But I don't think it's just the wine. I think the wine was just the excuse she needed to finally be honest in a house built on lies. She's terrified that her marriage is over, sure, but she's more terrified of living a lie for the rest of her life. I don't see this as a jealous wife moment. I see it as a justice moment. She is reclaiming her own life. For years, Gary has been the one in control. He's the one with the secrets. By throwing this accusation out there, she flips the script. She makes him the one who has to scramble for an answer. It's a complete power shift on the cobbles, and honestly, I am here for it. Maria has spent years being the supportive wife to a man who literally has bodies buried in his past. She deserves to have her moment where she demands the truth. Whether they are actually having an affair or just covering up a murder, Maria's reaction is the only rational response to a husband who is constantly sneaking around. From a psychological perspective, she's exhibiting what I'd call reactive attachment. She's so attached to the idea of a stable family, but the constant threat of Gary's secrets has pushed her into a burn-it-all-down survival state. She's choosing to destroy the relationship herself rather than wait for it to collapse under the weight of a police investigation. It's a "you can't fire me, I quit" move, but with her entire life. Then we have Gary Windass. He's a man who has perfected the art of looking guilty while claiming he's innocent. When Maria makes her accusation, he strongly denies everything. But why is he denying it so hard? Is he denying an affair because he's actually faithful? Or is he denying it because the closeness with Sarah is actually about something much darker? We're talking about the death of Theo Silverton. Gary acts this way because he's a protector by nature, even when he's protecting the wrong people. He's been linked to Theo's murder through that flashback that places him right at the crime scene. If he admits to any secret connection with Sarah, he risks exposing the real secret. He risks exposing what happened the night Theo died. I think Gary is probably feeling a crushing sense of isolation right now. He's trying to keep his family together while also trying to stay out of prison. That is a level of stress that would break most people. I think he's deeply hurt that Maria doesn't trust him, even though he knows he hasn't given her a single reason to. It's that classic tragic hero delusion. He thinks his lies are a form of love. He thinks he's shielding her. But he's not. He's just building a wall between them. Let's reframe this whole situation. What if Gary and Sarah's affair isn't an affair at all? What if it's a suicide pact of silence? They aren't in love. They are in debt to each other. Their secretive behavior isn't about stolen kisses. It's about stolen lives. When Gary attacks Sarah in that trailer, it's not because he hates her. It's because he's losing control of the narrative. In my view, Gary is his own worst enemy. He keeps trying to fix things by adding more layers of deception. It's like trying to put out a fire with a bucket of gasoline. He should have come clean about Theo months ago. By waiting until a detective is literally sitting at his dinner table, he's made sure the fallout will be catastrophic. He has this savior complex that has gone completely wrong. He feels he must protect Sarah, maybe because he feels responsible for everything she's been through. This compulsion to save her is driving a wedge into his own marriage. His ego won't allow him to admit he's in over his head. This is what leads to those violent incidents we see teased in the promo. He's a cornered animal right now, and we can't forget Kit Green. He is the most dangerous person in that room. He didn't just invite Gary and Maria to be nice. He invited them to create what the sources call the perfect recipe for disaster. He is using Maria's emotional state as a tool. He's a modern detective who knows that the best way to get a confession isn't in a cold interview room. It's over a meal. He knows that if he puts Gary and Sarah in a high-pressure social situation, their body language will tell him everything the evidence hasn't. He's looking for that connection. Does he feel guilty for using Maria like this? Probably not. He seems cold and entirely focused on the result. He's watching the shattered glass and blood spilled across the table with a clinical eye. For him, this isn't a tragedy. It's a breakthrough. Did I see Kit as the anti-Roy Cropper? Roy represents the moral heart of the street, right? Kit represents the cynical reality of modern policing. He's willing to blow up 2 families if it means he gets to close the Theo Silverton case. He's the shark in the water, and everyone else is just swimming for their lives. I actually think Kit is exactly what the show needs right now. For too long, characters have gotten away with way too much because the local police weren't exactly Sherlock Holmes. Kit is smart. He's manipulative. And honestly, it's about time someone played Gary Windass at his own game. He's operating with those dark triad traits, specifically manipulation. He recognizes Maria's vulnerability and uses it as a weapon. He isn't interested in the affair for moral reasons. He wants it as leverage. He is the ultimate predator in a suburban setting. The promo shows us smashed glasses, overturned furniture, and furious confrontations. This isn't just a verbal argument. It's a physical manifestation of years of repressed tension finally exploding. The fact that blood is splattered across the table suggests that someone snaps. Maybe it's Gary. The escalation here is brilliant because it blends a whodunit with a domestic drama. By the end of the night, the question won't just be who killed Theo? It'll be who will survive this? Sarah is left apologizing to Kit, which tells me she might be trying to mitigate the damage after her affair is exposed. The use of flashbacks to the night of Theo's death back in April is going to be key. We need to see why Gary was at that crime scene. Was he there to kill Theo? Or was he there to clean up someone else's mess? The psychological weight of that flashback is going to contrast so sharply with the chaos at the dinner table. I believe the blood on the table is the point of no return for Maria and Gary. You can recover from an argument. You might even be able to recover from an affair. But you cannot recover from a dinner party that ends in a crime scene investigation. Samia Longchampion is right. This is their toughest challenge yet, and I honestly don't think they'll make it. I am predicting that Maria will officially file for divorce by the end of the month. She's been through enough. The affair accusation is just the tip of the iceberg. Once she realizes Gary is a murder suspect, the criminal involvement that she's looked past before will become an unforgivable burden. She has a son to think about. She can't keep living like this. And what about Sarah? I think she's going to find herself completely alone. Todd already feels isolated and uncertain after her responses to his questions. If she's choosing Gary over her friends and her own morality, she's going to lose her entire support system. Apologizing to Kit won't save her if she's already tainted by Gary's actions. Then there's the big reveal. The sources tease that the real culprit might not be who we expect. While Gary is the key suspect, I'm putting my money on a dark horse. Could it be Todd? Or maybe someone like Kit who has a deeper connection to the victim. The payoff is promised to be shocking, and Gary being the killer feels almost too obvious for a soap mystery. We also have to keep an eye on the Ronnie Bailey subplot. That missing gun of Fiona's is a massive red flag. If that weapon ends up being linked to Theo's death, Ronnie's attempt to protect Debbie is going to blow up in his face. The arrangement Fiona wants from Ronnie isn't just money, it's power. This adds a second layer of danger to the street that will eventually collide with the Gary and Sarah storyline. Ronnie's protective instinct for Debbie mirrors Gary's for Sarah. It's like a theme for the whole week. Men making terrible decisions in the name of protection. It's a recipe for disaster, and I mean, the way everything is coming together is just wild. You have the dinner party drama, the murder mystery, and the missing gun subplot all swirling around each other. It's like a pressure cooker that's about to blow. Think about the atmosphere in that room when Maria stands up. Everyone has their own secrets. Todd is suspicious. Summer is stressed. Gary is lying. Sarah is hiding. And Kit is just watching it all unfold like a hawk. The psychological tension must be through the roof. It's not just about what is being said. It's about what isn't being said. Every look, every sigh, every sip of wine is loaded with meaning. When you look at the history of Maria and Sarah's rivalry, it makes this moment even more intense. They've had issues for a long time, mostly because of Sarah's complicated past with Gary. Maria has always felt like Sarah was a lingering presence in her marriage. And she was right. Whether it was romantic or just criminal, Sarah was always there. This dinner party is the moment Maria finally tries to cut that cord. But in doing so, she might be cutting the cord on her entire life. It's a huge risk. Does she realize that by exposing Gary, she might be sending him to prison for life? I think she might. And I think she might be okay with that at this point. That's how much she's hurting. I'm also really interested in Todd's role in all of this. He's the one who was with Theo, right? He's the one who was being abused. The who took revenge question is central here. Was it Gary doing a favor for the Platts? Or was it someone else entirely who wanted Theo gone? Todd demanding answers from Sarah shows that even he doesn't know the full story. And if Todd doesn't know, then the secret is really well guarded. Sarah's response leaving him isolated is such a sad development for their friendship. They used to be so close. Now, secrets are tearing every single relationship on the street apart. The whole thing with Fiona and Ronnie is also super creepy. She doesn't want his money. She wants him to repay her another way. That sounds like blackmail or something even more personal. Ronnie is trying to maintain a sense of normality with Debbie, but he's living a lie just like Gary. He's trying to shield her, but all he's doing is making the eventual fallout even worse. Why do these men think they can handle everything alone? It never works. It always comes out in the end. The missing gun is like a ticking time bomb. You just know it's going to go off at the worst possible moment. Let's let's talk about that hour-long special on June 22nd. It's going to be huge. Flashbacks to April are going to show us exactly what happened when Theo's body was found. We're going to see the truth behind the shattered glass and blood. I suspect the blood we see on the table at the dinner party is a visual echo of the blood from the night Theo died. It's like the past is finally catching up to the present. You can't bury a body and expect it to stay buried forever. Not in Weatherfield. I've been watching Coronation Street for a long time, and these kinds of storylines are always the best when they focus on the character's psychology. It's not just about the action. It's about the why. Why does Maria feel she is to do this now? Why is Gary so desperate to protect Sarah? Why is Kit so obsessed with this case? When you start asking those questions, the drama becomes so much more than just a soap opera. It becomes a study of human nature under extreme pressure. And let's be honest, there is no pressure quite like a murder investigation combined with an affair accusation at a dinner party. I also want to touch on Samia Longchampan's acting. She's been playing Maria for so long, and it's great to see her get some fiery material. She mentioned that she enjoyed the scenes where she finally confronts Sarah. You can tell. There's a certain energy in the promos that feels very real. It's that feeling of someone who has been pushed too far and finally snaps. We've all been there, right? Maybe not at a dinner party with a murderer, but we've all had that moment where we just can't take it anymore. That relatability is what makes Maria's journey so compelling. But what happens the day after? What happens when the guests leave and the police start asking real questions? The cold and tense aftermath that the sources mention sounds like it's going to be brutal. If Gary and Maria's marriage is truly over, where does Maria go from here? And what happens to Gary? If he's the killer, his time on the street is surely coming to an end. But if he's not the killer, he's still lost his wife and his reputation. There are no winners here. Everyone is going to leave that table with their lives in pieces. I'm also curious about the other bombshell revelations promised in the special. What else is being hidden? Could there be another secret entirely that we don't even know about yet? This show loves a good twist. Just when you think you've figured it out, they pull the rug out from under you. That's why we keep watching, isn't it? The mystery of Theo Silverton has been going on since April, and it's finally time for some answers. I don't think audiences will be disappointed. The payoff is supposed to be shocking, and I'm ready for it. Think about the impact on the younger characters, too. Summer Spellman is there. She's already been under so much prison pressure and stress. Seeing her world blow up again at a dinner party is the last thing she needs. And then there's Sam. Roy visiting Sam and playing chess is a nice little side story, but even that is tinged with worry. Sam making a mistake in the game and Nick being concerned. It all points to a community that is just struggling to stay afloat. Everyone is on edge that I honestly feel for Maria the most. She's been through so much heartbreak over the years. From Liam to everything else, she just wants a stable life. And she thought she had that with Gary. To realize that it was all built on a foundation of lies and murder, that's devastating. I think her explosion is a very healthy thing, actually. She's purging the poison. She's getting it all out. It might be messy, and it might be loud, but it's necessary. You can't heal until you acknowledge the wound. Now, I want to hear from you, because Weatherfield is literally burning down right now. I need your takes on this. First off, do you think Gary and Sarah are actually having an affair? Or is Maria just misinterpreting their shared guilt over Theo Silverton? Is Maria being crazy, or is she the only sane person in the room? I tend to think she's the sane one, but I'd love to hear if any of you think she's overreacting. Second, let's talk about the big mystery. Based on the flashbacks and all the chaos we've seen, who do you think killed Theo? Is Gary too obvious of a suspect? Or is he finally going to face justice for his past sins? Maybe you have a theory about a dark horse candidate. Is it Todd? Is it Kit? Tell me your wild theories in the comments. This was one of the most intense weeks in Corey history, and we are just getting started. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the psychological warfare on the cobbles, make sure you like the video and subscribe so you don't miss our breakdown of the actual reveal. I read every single comment, so let's get a debate going. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one where we find out if Gary Windass is finally going down for good. It's just so fascinating how these characters have evolved. Think back to 2020 when Gary and Maria first got together. They've survived